Got it.
Hello and welcome to the NZ Ahead podcast. I'm Liz.
And I'm Brian.
And today we are back with our favourite immigration advisor, Charlotte from NZ Shores Immigration.
Yes, we are. And what's she going to be talking about, Liz?
She's going to be talking all about if you are a Kiwi and you are married, well, if you are married or you are the partner of a New Zealand citizen and you want to move back to New Zealand, this episode is for you. This is how you can do it. She goes through all the process and a little bit of extra bonus at the end. She answers a question that comes up so often in our NZ Ahead community Slack channel. So hang around to the end there as well, just to keep you waiting a little bit. And you'll get the answer to a question that you're probably asking yourself. I'm not going to give it away.
No. What was it?
Oh, that's what I said. I'm not going to give it away. Okay. Don't forget that Charlotte is part of our NZ Ahead Slack community. She is over there. She is absolutely fantastic with just gives so much free goodness away.
We just love Charlotte, don't we?
We do.
Yeah.
We do. And I think it comes over in the interview as well, because she is genuinely one of those people that there's no, what's it called? No, I was going to say no mirrors. What's it called when you don't put something in front of you? You're just as you are, you know?
You are, yeah. And she's always very busy. So that's what they always say as well. If you want something done, ask a busy person.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Not the lazy people.
Yeah, she is. She's part of our NZ Ahead Slack community. If you don't know what that is, this is our private NZ Ahead membership community that supports you in your quest to move to New Zealand. It is filled with wonderful people who are doing the same as you, who are wanting to do the same as you, or who have done the same as you. And they are there to support each other in your move to New Zealand.
Yeah, and that's what's so important is people pay back, as in with information. So if they have already moved, we did this, we did that. And people can't believe it. It's great. So
no.
get on over to, where is it, Liz?
www.nzahead.com/free. You take the free 5-day video guide. Now, listen, I'm going to explain this because I get quite a few emails asking me, how do we get onto the Slack group? How do we get onto the Slack group? This is what happens. Okay, I'll say it really plainly. You take the free 5-day video guide. There is a video every day, fantastic video about life in New Zealand. You take that, you watch that for 5 days, and then on day 5, you will be given details of how you can become a member of the private NZ Ahead community that we're talking about. That's how it works. It's really, really simple. There's no quick way in. There's no sales page that you can go to and get straight in today. You take the free 5-day video guide, and then at the end of that, we'll give you details of how to join.
Yep.
So let's jump on in and meet Charlotte from NZ Immigration and find out all about if you're married or partner of a Kiwi, you can come to New Zealand on that visa.
Yeah, but she's actually not from NZ Immigration, NZ Shores Immigration.
Got it.
Welcome to the NZ Ahead podcast. Everything you need to know about moving to and living in New Zealand.
There's a whole world here.
So nice to be with you again.
We call it Aotearoa around here, bro.
You'll be right.
We are your hosts, Liz and Brian.
Amazing New Zealand in the southern seas.
See, that's where I belong. That's home.
Charlotte, hello and welcome back to the podcast. Thrilled to have you as always.
Thanks for having me, guys. So happy to be back again.
For anyone who doesn't know, and I'm sure they do, if you follow this channel, you will know that Charlotte is from NZ Shores Immigration Services, our favourite immigration advisors. And today we're here to talk about the partnership visas. Have I said that right? The visa
Yes.
of the, yes. Just tell me what it is. What's the proper name for that visa, Charlotte?
Yeah, so today, there's different types of partnership visas, but today we're going to talk about partners of New Zealand citizens and residents, because there's obviously a big cohort of Kiwis who've moved all over the world, who at some point in their lives decide to come home and bring their families.
Yes, yeah.
Yes,
and
yeah.
we've got a list of 5 questions because, like you say, it's a big topic. We get a lot of people within our community saying, I've been living in the US or, Canada, UK, and for 30 years, I am a New Zealand citizen, and now I want to bring my partner over with me.
We did that. There's a guy called Tim who's in our community who we did a video with him.
Yeah, we did.
Of him moving from the UK to here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's living in the South Island now. Yeah.
So let's jump straight in. What type of partnership visas are there?
Yeah, so for partners of New Zealand citizens and residents, so you can be just a standard resident visa holder or a permanent resident visa holder. For people, I'll just quickly touch on that. So for people who don't know the difference, most people will be granted a resident visa outright, and then that will have some kind of condition attached to it, depending on what category you've applied under. So even if you just hold that initial residence visa, and you're either already in New Zealand and perhaps your partner didn't initially meet the threshold, or you're outside New Zealand and you hold a permanent resident visa, you can sponsor your partners for either a residency visa, a permanent residency visa outright if you meet very particular criteria, or a partnership work visa. So we've got 3 different types of visas, 2 of which are residents and 1 which is temporary.
How can a New Zealand citizen, someone's asked this, how can a New Zealand citizen support a visa application to bring a partner over to New Zealand?
Yeah, so Immigration New Zealand assess partnerships on 2 factors, and this applies to all types of partnership visas. So if you're a partner of a worker or a partner of a student, the criteria is the same regardless. But for a partnership work visa, you must be able to demonstrate that you have been living in a genuine and stable relationship. So, and that applies to residents as well. So 2 factors are living together and a genuine and stable relationship. Living together means that you are cohabiting at the same address and you're able to prove that that is the case. So for work visas, there isn't actually a stipulated threshold as to how long you have to have been living together. We tend to work on a minimum of about 2 to 4 months, and you have to have, if you are definitely at the lower end of that spectrum, you have to have really solid evidence that you are at that same address. So it could be property ownership, rental agreements, utility bills, bank statements, anything that comes from a third party, Temu orders, Amazon, Uber Eats, whatever it might be, as long as it's a document that comes from another organisation that has name and address attached to it, can either be joint or individual. So given that we're in the 21st century, Immigration New Zealand aren't expecting people to have joint accounts or joint utilities, so documents can be joint or individual. If you have individual bank statements or whatever it may be, that's absolutely fine. So that's the first thing, and that is the main thing that they are looking for, because you can't just have a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a partner living at a different address and decide, hey, we want to move back to New Zealand and have them get a partnership visa. It has to very specifically meet that criteria, so you have to be living together. The genuine and stable factor is also important, but they don't place as much emphasis on this. So genuine and stable means that you have to be able to prove that your relationship is genuine. So you have to be able to prove often that friends and family are aware of your relationship. So we provide things like letters of support from friends and family. We provide evidence of photos of you together, photos with your friends and family. Marriage certificates can fall into the genuine and stable factor, but it's not a determining factor. So you don't have to be married to sponsor your partner for a visa in New Zealand. If you've got children together, that can add to the genuine and stable factor, but again, not required. So they just want to look at all different aspects of your life together as a couple, and they just want to make sure that it's not an online relationship that you're hiding from your family, that you are very much a couple, and that your friends, family, society, your wider community are aware that you're actually together. So those are kind of the 2 factors. If we look at a residency application, you have to be able to prove you've been living together for a minimum of 12 months. So that's the threshold that Immigration New Zealand attached to that residence. There is also the option to apply for a permanent resident visa. This is only for New Zealand citizens and their partners. They must be offshore or have only arrived into New Zealand within the last 3 months. So if you come into New Zealand and you're here for more than 3 months and you decide, hey, we want that permanent resident visa, you've already missed out. So really important that you get that in before that threshold. And you must be able to prove you've been living together for 5 years. So that threshold to get that permanent resident visa outright is a lot higher than our work visa and just our standard residency visa.
Wow.
You're looking like I've just given you so much information.
Yes.
No, yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, I think one of the things I would be thinking the marriage certificate would make sort of seal it, because in theory that's proves as a union, doesn't it? But
it does.
What you're saying is it's yeah. What
there's
about
a lot of fraud.
What about if you're living in separate bedrooms?
Anyway, let's not get into
Maybe-
our personal life here.
Maybe
right?
that's the reason they're still together. I don't know. There's
Yeah,
definitely cases where I end up in the spare bed because my husband's snoring. So
Yeah, exactly.
he probably will hate me for telling people that. But anyway, the world knows now.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, marriage on its own doesn't count because anyone could pay anyone to marry them, right? So there is definitely partnership fraud that happens, and that's why immigration really dive into the fact, like, is your family aware that there's a relationship? Is it known to your wider community? And are you actually living together? If you are living in separate bedrooms, because that is what helping you survive as a couple, I don't think immigration really care, but it's not a question on the form anyway.
Right, okay.
Phew. Do you know what? It's so interesting because I was thinking back when you were talking to going back to like, this is like way back now, like 1980s, whatever. I remember when I wanted, before, if anyone wanted to move to anywhere, like, oh, I want to move to America, it's just like, oh, just meet an American guy and just like, just marry him, and then you can just like, get over. It seems so easy, and now it surprises me actually. Or am I wrong about this? Is it a hard visa to get?
Yes and no. So it can be if you don't provide the right evidence. So like with any visa application, you have to really show that you meet whatever that policy is. So particularly if we're looking at residence, if you submit a residence application and you have less than 12 months evidence of living together, it could be declined. And we do see it because people do go into it thinking, well, I've been married for 20 years. We've got 2 kids. Here's my marriage certificate. Here's their birth certificates. What else do we need? So those people always run into problems because that just isn't the only thing. So I always, with my clients, I always work off a basis of more is better in these cases. So I will inundate Immigration New Zealand with as much information as possible. And my clients, I think at the time, hate me for it because I say, no, we need more, and I keep pushing back. But it does mean that you don't end up with those hiccups because immigration they'll just come back and ask for more evidence if you don't prove that you are, at that same address and have been for a period of time.
Yeah. So just to clarify, so if I'm a Kiwi, a New Zealand citizen, I've been living over in Canada for the last 25 years. My wife is Canadian, and I want to move to New Zealand come back as a permanent resident, never leave New Zealand again. Just clarify what the rule again, what I have to do for the years.
Yep, so it's 5 years attached to that one. There's actually no requirement once that permanent resident visa has been issued to enter with any kind of time frame. You don't even have to move back. So that one is very flexible, and I guess they've just established that to help, I guess maybe even give Kiwis an incentive to come home when they've been offshore for a period of time. But it is only New Zealand citizens who can sponsor their partners for permanent residence outright. If you are a permanent resident yourself, and even if you've been living with your partner for more than 5 years, you will only be granted that resident visa initially, and that will require your partner to live in New Zealand for 6 months out of each year for 2 years before they can get permanent residence themselves. So there is a little bit of a differentiation there.
Yeah.
So it's just a permanent resident with a clause.
Basically, There's really no difference between residence and permanent residence. In terms of what you're entitled to in the country, everything's the same. You can purchase property, you can vote, access to free healthcare, domestic student fees if you want to go to university. So the rights are exactly the same. It's just with the resident visa, they're making people demonstrate a commitment to actually living in New Zealand before they hand out that permanent residence that you get for life.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you've got kids with you, do they get that permanent residency as well?
Yeah, so if there's children involved, so if you are in a situation where you're coming over on a work visa, perhaps because maybe you haven't lived together for 12 months, your children can get student visas. If you are applying for residency, all permanent residents, your children can be all included in the same application. The fee doesn't change. But often, particularly if you are a New Zealand citizen, your children might actually be eligible for citizenship anyway. So, you could look at that as a separate process. But if they're not, because sometimes it depends on how you've obtained your citizenship, because you can't keep passing it down the line unlimited. So, you can just include your children and the fee remains exactly the same. So if you are eligible for that permanent residence, the whole family would get permanent residence at the same time.
And just one more question. So because we were just talking about not living together. What if you've been living together? Say you're from the UK, or your partner's Kiwi, like we say, and you come over here, but you both go your separate ways straight away. What happens? Is that still okay?
Happens, definitely happens. You'd be amazed how often it does happen. Migrating, as you guys know, is a pretty stressful process.
Yeah.
Immigration won't penalise you. So if you're here for a couple months and everything falls over and you break up, doesn't mean that you lose your visa, unless immigration get wind of the fact that you weren't necessarily in a genuine relationship at the time of application or at the time of approval. So we did have one case a few years ago where this couple arrived into New Zealand under a partnership category, and then not long after that arrived, they found out that the other person had been cheating on them, had very documented evidence of them doing so. They sent it all to Immigration New Zealand, and that person's resident visa was revoked. So
yes.
Yeah, it was definitely.
But they were celebrating.
Was it a man or a woman?
Get out, go on, go.
The scorned partner was very happy with that outcome, but and fair enough too. But if it was literally just the case that you'd moved and hey, actually we've decided after a few months or a year or whatever it may be that we don't really like each other anymore, you will retain your resident visa. Immigration won't take it off you.
Right, okay. Right. Yeah, that's good to know then.
Yeah, and so if you've got that, you've got to stay, is it another 7 years before you could even apply for citizenship, or would that how it work?
5 years.
5 years, right, okay.
So this is a lot of information to take in, and I know the person needing this will be absolutely loving it. So apologies if you've already answered this question, but I've got a question here that says, can a permanent resident support a resident visa for their partner from offshore? Did we talk about that? Yes, they can.
Yes, you can technically. The only difference with that is that Immigration New Zealand want to see that New Zealand will be your established residence. So they don't want people who obtain permanent residence moving back to their home countries and then sponsoring their partners for residency with no intention of actually moving to New Zealand. So they will look for things like you may have a job offer back in New Zealand, you may have property that you own here, or they will even accept if you are shipping goods back home. So if you're sending a container, or even I had a case recently where they literally sent about 5 boxes worth of their belongings back to New Zealand because they wanted to sell most of their stuff, but they wanted the residents approved before they left. And Immigration New Zealand accepted that. So you just have to be able to show that actually, hey, I want to live in New Zealand and I'm not just doing this to kind of circumnavigate the system.
You are here because you love New Zealand, just like me and Brian. And me and Brian made it our reality of moving over here. We arrived in New Zealand in 2009 with 2 small children, and I tell you what, hardly any information to our name. We came over here with no resources, no contacts, we knew nothing. One night while we were sitting around the fire when we got to New Zealand, we said, wouldn't it be great if we made something for other people in the same situation as us that gave them everything they needed to know about moving to New Zealand? And that's just what we did. We started a community of people, of like-minded adventurers from all over the world who are making their dream of moving to New Zealand a reality. This community is made up of 400 beautiful souls, each one bringing their own story, their own needs, their own information to our community. And I just love it. I tell you, it's just the best community in the whole wide world. If you would like to be part of that community or get to know more about it, then you can take our free 5-day video guide that we offer. This is a video guide that Brian and I created, showing you some aspect of life in New Zealand every single day. There is nothing like this on the internet. You won't find it anywhere else. It's brilliant and it's unique and it's free. So sign up to those 5-day video guides, and on day 5, I'll give you more information about how you can join our beautiful New Zealand community. Sign up now by going to www.nzahead.com/free. That's www.nzahead.com/free. Get to day 5, see all about our community, and I hope to see you on the other side. Okay, let's get back to the show.
And I'm not just doing this to kind of circumnavigate the system.
I'll tell you what's a good thing to ship over to New Zealand from the UK: tent parts. Isn't it, Bride? Camping parts.
Camping parts.
We did.
Yeah.
We,
Is it?
yeah, it is, Charlotte.
ornaments.
Just as a side note here, if ever you want to make a bit of cash on the side, just bring some like camping gear over from the UK and sell it in
Okay.
New Zealand.
Make
You
sure
make
it's
loads
clean.
of money. It's great, isn't it, Bride?
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Good to know.
Anyway,
If immigration even dries up, I might.
Yeah, there you go.
I might move into the outdoors furniture or camping gear.
Second hand.
there you go.
Send me on marketplace flogging everything.
That's it, yeah.
Right. So, what are the main things to be aware of if you're thinking of going down this route and you want to move back to New Zealand with your partner?
Yeah. As I mentioned, more evidence, the better. So don't go into this thinking that you can provide the bare minimum, because Immigration New Zealand will not accept the bare minimum. If we look at partnership evidence, everything's individual, that's fine. You want to double the amount of documentation you're providing. So if we have a lot of joint documents, we probably work off about 20 to 30 documents spread out across a 12-month period. If a lot of your documents are individual, I would try and double that. I know it's a lot of paperwork, but it will be the key factor to getting your application over the line. So yeah, definitely don't go with the bare minimum. Make sure that you can actually provide everything that Immigration New Zealand are asking for. So do your homework. I mean, with every visa application, do your homework or come and talk to someone like us who can guide you through that process. So it's just, it is on the easier side of visa applications as long as you meet the criteria. It's not as difficult as some of our investment categories or student visa categories or skilled employment categories, but it still does require just as much effort. So just be mindful that it could take you some time to get your documents together. And particularly in that case, if you have to provide 5 years worth of evidence, it could take some time to dive back on all of that, but it will be worth it in the end. Processing times at the moment for a partnership residence or permanent residence sitting at about 4 to 6 months, and that's kind of been the norm for about the last 5 years. So just work backwards from that date, or once you've set your move date, work backwards from there, just to make sure if you're wanting to enter with that resident visa that you're giving yourself enough time. Immigration New Zealand won't fast track your application because you've decided you're moving in January and you're submitting your visa in November. So it is always, apply early if you can.
Yeah. And so say your partner was a Kiwi and say he's got a job and he's come back to New Zealand. Are you still right? Could you come to New Zealand before you get your residency,
Yeah,
still
you
do it that way?
can. It would depend on what your country of citizenship was as to what you would travel in on. If you're from one of our visa waiver countries, which if you want to know what that list is, just Google visa waiver countries INZ and it will pop up. You will be eligible for an NZETA, which is just like an electronic travel authority. The only catch with that is you may be asked at the border to provide evidence of outward travel. You may not. It just depends sometimes on whoever you get. So that case, I would probably recommend book more expensive flights that can be fully refunded in the event that is asked for, because it's always more expensive to purchase last minute flights when you're actually at the border talking to an immigration officer. Or there is obviously the work visa option as well. They process more in about 4 to 6 weeks at the moment, so they're relatively quick. So if you're wanting particularly the benefits of free healthcare in New Zealand, it could be worth considering applying for that partnership work visa first. Again, people can reach out to us, have a chat, and we can give them guidance based on timeframes and their situation as to what is the best way forward.
Yes.
Yeah.
And before we jump into how people can contact you and tell them all about the fact that you are just a wonderful part of our community, I have got 2 more questions I want to ask you. One, and this is not really related to this, but I've had a lot of people email me and say, look, next time you speak to Charlotte, can you ask her this? So I'm going to be really cheeky and ask you this. Yeah. So when people come to New Zealand and they haven't got a job offer and they're coming over on their visitor visa, do they have to book a return flight? So say they're coming over to try and find a job, have a few interviews and stuff. Do they have to have a return flight, Charlotte, or can they just come in on one-way ticket?
They should have a return flight. Again, some people slip through without doing so. I just had a lady last week that was lucky, but it can all come down to the immigration agent you speak to. The customs immigration person at the border. So they may say, yes, that's fine. They may say, no, that's not. You're heading home. Or they may say, that's not fine. Purchase a flight while you're standing here in front of me. So again, if I would definitely say yes, book outward travel just to avoid those situations happening. I have seen them happen. I have had people refused boarding. I have had people turned around at the border. I have had people had to purchase flights at the border. So again, there's not really, if you get to a desk at Auckland Airport or Christchurch Airport or wherever you fly into, and that person that you speak to isn't happy, they will just do whatever they want. There's no arguing with what happens at the border. So act on the side of caution. If you think I am going to get a job offer while I'm in the country, there's nothing wrong with doing so. If you do happen to speak to someone at the border as you're entering, tell them you're here to look, see, decide. So Immigration New Zealand have special, it's not actually written into policy, but they have, I guess, they call it a visa pack. So it's a bit of like an advice document where they have actually outlined that it is acceptable to come to New Zealand to look, see, decide. I'm coming to look, see, and decide if I want to live here. So then if you tell them that, or if you're applying for a visitor visa and you declare that in your application, and then you get a job offer while you're in the country, Immigration New Zealand won't come back and say, hang on, you told me you were here for a holiday, or you told me you were here to visit family, and now suddenly you've got a job offer. So absolutely fine to do so. You've just got to be careful in the way you go about it. And actually, we could probably do a whole nother podcast on that topic.
Exactly. Yeah.
As I'm saying that, like, we could do, absolutely fine, but just be careful in the way you go about it.
And with that return flight, it doesn't have to be a return flight. It could just be a flight to Fiji.
Could be
just out
Australia,
the country,
Pacific Islands.
Yeah.
It's just somewhere that you have the right to travel to, basically. So doesn't have to be home. Yeah.
Thanks so much for answering that, Charlotte, because like I say, I've really put you on the spot there. And again, this is just why we love you so much, because there's no planning with you. You just know the answers, and it's fantastic. So, and you're very open about it. So I really appreciate you for that. And my last question, and this again is just a personal thing that I've always wondered, is like, say if you were living in New Zealand, say if I'm in the UK and my grandfather who passed away was a Kiwi citizen, but I'm not a Kiwi citizen, but I know that I've got heritage. My grandfather was a Kiwi. Is there any way that I can get into New Zealand by saying, "Oh, my grandfather, he was a Kiwi"?
Oh, I am not the expert in that space.
Okay, right.
You can. I know there's a really handy tool on the Department of Internal Affairs website where you can go through and figure that out. Citizenship, even though it kind of is immigration, it's also kind of not. So it's just not really our area of expertise. It's dealt with internal affairs rather than immigration. But I could find out. I could definitely work it out. I just don't know off the top
You'll
of my
be
head.
thinking about that tonight when you go to sleep in bed. You're like, oh, what's the answer to that? No, I've always wondered. It's no one has ever asked me, by the way. No one has ever come to me with that question. So don't worry.
Well, I know, like, I'm entitled to an Irish passport because my grandparents were born in Ireland. So that's a fair question to ask. I just don't know how far back in New Zealand that line of descent goes, because I know they do max it out at a certain point, and I'm just not sure what that is. So I can find out. If someone really wants to know, welcome to email me and I can find out for you.
So talking about how we can contact you, again, thank you so much for giving us your time and joining us here today. You're part of our community, our NZ Ahead Slack community. You've got your own channel over there. You are so giving with your time and your answers and all your efforts that you put over there. So we really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Just tell us how people can contact you and where to find you. Obviously, we'll put all the links in the description below, but how can we find you?
You can find me, direct message me in the Slack community. Always happy to help. So that's one way. You can email me, charlotte@nzshores.com. That's definitely the best port of call, particularly obviously with different time zones. You can also call our office. I won't rattle off the phone number, but you can drop it down below. Happy to take phone calls, happy to have Zoom calls, happy to have emails. So just whatever people prefer.
Oh, thank you so much, Charlotte. It's always such a joy talking to you. And next time I talk to you, I'm going to think of another really obscure question.
Go for it.
Whereabouts in Ireland were you?
No.
Well, you have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for joining us. And
I will.
We'll speak to you again soon, Charlotte.
Thank you so much, guys. Looking forward to hearing from all of your wonderful community, and we'll talk soon.
Yes,
Oh, thanks, Charlotte.
lovely. Okay,
See you soon.
bye-bye, darling. Bye-bye.
See you later. Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast this week. We have loved having you here with us.
If you love this week's show, please share this with your friends. Send it to anybody you know that wants to think about moving to New Zealand, and get on over here yourself.
And tell them how brilliant it is as well. And also, if you haven't signed up for our free 5-day video guide showing you what life is like, really like, in New Zealand, then go over to the website and sign up. You are missing out. This is brilliant. Go over to www.nzahead/free and we will send you 5 days worth of videos about what life is like in New Zealand. You are going to love it. So one more time, that website that you need to sign up for the free 5-day guide is www.nzahead/free. So we're going to see you next week. Until then, have a great week and we'll speak to you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Say bye again. Bye.
Bye.